Alright, so this is going to help us see things that we can't normally see with the naked eye. So it's only going to detect heat signatures. I'll try not to get too technical, just since it's just the three of us and you guys can ask me a million questions along the way.
Right.
So you guys see me in the picture, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how I'm orange and red and all kinds of stuff. If we take me out of the picture, it's going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
So it's going to kind of take everything that's inside the screen and then fluctuate the temperature. So what we're looking for on this guy is going to actually be some of those blue spots. It's set up to black, cold, white, hot. Not that you need to memorize that, but what we're looking for are moving blue things, even black things. So if those things are moving through an orange, we know that we definitely have something, but it could also mean where we have something where it's orange and red in this area, and that piece of that yellow starts to move all on its own. That's still a cooler temperature. I'll take it depending on what form it takes. If it takes form of a person, obvious, it's an apparition.
Or it could be an orb.
Or it can be an orb. Cool thing about this guy is it's actually going to see those white lines back up in here. It's taken that building back there and it recognizes it as a structure. So if it's going to see an orb or a full apparition, it's going to put white lines around it because it's going to recognize it as a structure because it only sees temperature. So this guy's actually going to go, let's see, you got 2 free hands. So hold that horizontal all night. It's going to record audio. Treat it just like a cell phone. So, I mean, I know it's a little heavier.
Is this an add-on for your iPhone?
It's not even that's not an iPhone.
It's not an iPhone?
No, that's an Android. I think it's an S8 Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
But it does have a battery pack on the back that's keeping your camera charged. So that's what that little wire is. So it is a little bit heavier. And that is an actual tool that plumbers and electricians use to find leaks inside your house. So I wanted something legit. I didn't want an app or a stupid something on my phone.
Right.
I wanted something truly legit. So it's going to record audio as well. So speaking of,
Left on pick me.
we're also recording audio already. I started the recording at my car, so that way we can actually record for EVPs, and or you guys can remember the stories that go through. So EVPs are electronic voice phenomenon. That's voices we can't hear
Doesn't
with
it
our
go
ears.
like ee, and then it finds something and it's like ee?
That's a spirit box. We're getting to that.
Okay.
So with that, this is more like there might be somebody right next to me talking in my ear saying, "Hey Nick, you're telling the wrong story," and we're going to hear it here even though we can't hear it right now. Does that make sense? So that's why I keep the recorder on me all night long. That way you guys get both ends of things. So that spirit box that you were talking about. So this guy, you guys are going to get that full video as well. So you're going to have, so far you're going to have the recording on here and you're going to have the recording on there. This guy is one of the spirit boxes that I normally use, and the reason why we're going to use this one specifically is because it does record the entire session. What's nice about that is no matter if the volume is up or down, we get one nice volume when you guys go back to listen to the MP3 that I turn it into. So if I'm talking, obviously we want to turn it down because I'm telling you the data that you need to pay attention to, and then even like when the volume is down, it's still recording. So I'm going to go ahead and get it set up and then play it for you just so you guys can get a gist of what I'm listening for. We're listening for DJs, song lyrics, commercials. Think of it as Bumblebee from Transformers. Have you ever seen Transformers?
Yeah.
You remember how Bumblebee talks through the radio? It's the same principle. That's how the spirit world communicates with me, through here. Or it could be a disembodied voice, which I've gotten through on this particular device as well. That means that this is going to go like static. It's going to sound like very quick. It's just sweeping through the radio stations. I already have it set up. So once you guys listen to it, it might actually go over top of the static, and that's a disembodied voice. If it stops long enough for us to get a word, that's what I'm going to need you to tell me. So it's going to go to you. But I want something to come through, so cars are killing me. Still not hearing anything. Raise something. Did you guys kind of catch that? That's what I'm listening for. So it's literally anything you can actually make out. I want you to basically say, "Hey Nick, I just heard this." So there's only one button you need to pay attention to. There's one button up here that's the power, so stay away from that. Right next to it is the turnstile for the volume up and down. Okay, so that one goes to you. And then I'm going to give you one more gadget just because that one is pretty simple. And this one doesn't record anything, but it helps us detect where things are at. if that makes sense. So this is an EMF detector. So I'm sure you've seen these on
I've
your
seen
sensing
that,
shows.
yeah.
So I'm actually going to teach you how to use this guy. All right, so we're actually already getting probably something from the building. All right, so there's 3 types of electromagnetic fields, which is what EMF stands for. First one is natural. That's the green, the first one. That comes from the earth. So obviously when it's on green, we don't really need anything. The next one is going to be from man-made objects. It's going to be cell phones, wiring, any kind of electrical anything. So you're not bothering me with that. I'll probably be vaping all night too. So,
cool.
when it's just a couple like this, I wait to see if somebody lights up or vapes, and I'm like, yes.
Would it help if we turned our cell phones off
Nope.
or anything?
Leave them on.
Good.
We just put them in the backpack.
Right. So, you're fine. It's not. I mean, honestly, something would literally have to be right on top of it in order for this to make it go into
Wait,
a
so
rhythm.
will it change if I put this up by it?
So what it'll do is give us a rhythm. So you see that rhythm, that little pulse? We don't want that pulse.
Okay.
We want something that's erratic. It's going to go all over the board crazy. So when we have something that just comes up, like right now, it's just kind of blinking up here on this screen and then going up to yellow. I'm guessing it's something from inside this building because it's been happening more and more over here. At first, it usually didn't. I've been doing this for a year, so I kind of know the area that we're going
Right.
to.
Especially if you're walking on it all the time, like you
Right.
are 6 days a week, 3
Right.
tours a day.
I mean, I
type
know
of
the
thing,
stories.
So.
I know where it's going to react. I know if it's going to react.
So
Again,
there's a lot of like dead like soldiers in this like is that what you would like think would be here, like the spirits of like them that
not necessarily. We're probably gonna have more civilians
Really?
than anything else because I mean you'll learn some of the history. We've had a shit ton of fires, tragedies. We had an earthquake here. Like there is so much death here. That's why I call this stories in the cemetery because we're gonna go visit one cemetery, but we're literally walking on graves right now.
Oh wow.
Like that's how much death has occurred here.
Yeah, he was saying one of the signs up here said that there was a wall around this area, around the
Pretty well the town back in
Yeah,
1600.
Charlestown. Yep. So that was when it was Charlestown, and we're I'm trying to think. Were we inside the wall? I'd have to look at the map, but I want to say we're like 2 blocks away from that wall where it would have started. But again, you're exactly right. They had 8 quadrants, like 8 pillars, and they were all named after. Actually, no, we would be inside the walls because some of those. I think it goes up to Calhoun Street, which is about 3 to 4 blocks that way. And all these little neighborhoods back here, they're all named. So like right now, we're in the Ansonboro neighborhood. We go 2 blocks up, we're in Radcliffeboro, Cannonboro. I think there's 6 different neighborhoods throughout here. But anyway, back to the EMF.
Okay,
So again,
yeah,
we
sorry.
want that. No, you're good. Questions are awesome. We want those. So we want that craziness. It doesn't make any noise. It doesn't record anything. But this is kind of our first detection that something is actually going to occur. So I'm going to hand that one to you as well. There's actually a garbage.
Yeah, it was a garbage. I know where it's from.
Yeah. I keep my Gatorade because you got to imagine.
I have one in my backpack.
I keep them with me at all times. So last but not least, I have other gadgets, and if we need to use them, I'll pull them out. They're a lot to kind of help debunk some of the things that are happening there. But I do use a couple of tools on my phone. I'll show you real quick. I do keep a backup EMF in case the battery's drained, because that's happened before. And it does work.
Doesn't
on my
that
phone.
happen when it's like real busy? The
It just
electro field
depends.
is real busy?
It just depends. Like last night, my battery on the voice recorder just died. And it could have been because it was down to 1. I only have 3 slots for power. So it was already down to 1, and usually I can get another tour or 2 when I see it go down to 1. Because I go through batteries like crazy, as you can imagine.
I've seen one where like it was like the Ghost Hunters Untold Stories or whatever, and like they were in and like their thing on their chest, their GoPro died, and then like they kept walking, and like all of a sudden the electro field made it turn back on, and like all of a sudden they were recording again. Like I thought that was awesome.
So the ghost hunting shows, also remember, and I'm not saying any
They're
of this-
probably a lot of it's
it's all big
shenanigans,
finesse.
but
It's for the. I mean, I'm sure that they're getting activity, but you have to remember, like, for them to give you the 45 minutes of activity that they're giving you, because you have to remember the first half of the show is what? The history of the location.
right.
So the rest of the show, it probably took them 12 hours to get that 45 minutes. So, and that's what people don't realize when they come on this tour. They expect Zach Bagans, you know, and I'm not Zach Bagans. I'm not going to make things exciting. I'm not going to talk about demons. I'm not going to talk about things within me. I'm not going to talk about my emotions, you know, things like that. But we're going to get into a lot of those different questions. This spirit box actually gives us a list of words right here in the center. The cool thing about this is it actually gives us the full list after we go through it. Now this is last night's tour, so I'm going to clear them out and start you guys off fresh. The average size of this list is about 45 to 65 words. 80% of it is absolute bullshit. this is actually meant to be a game and a hoax. I did buy the upgraded version to get a bigger vocabulary inside the spirit box, but the other 20%, I get more relevance out of this spirit box than probably any other gadget you guys have. So super cool gadget here. And last but not least, you may hear me, and depending on, because we're going to be talking a lot, I'll use the reverse spirit box from time to time. What this guy does is it takes the FM radio stations, the same as what you have. They're not synced, but it's going to flip them backwards. So it's going to sound like complete gibberish. So if something comes through in forward motion, and it's a direct answer to the question I asked, then I know I was meant to hear it, and we actually have somebody with us. So I'm going to actually turn this up for a second, just so you guys can hear it. So again, complete gibberish, right? So there might be times where I say, go ahead and go venture off, because I don't want our spirit boxes to interfere. I don't want you listening to mine, and vice versa. And sometimes, actually a lot of times, if I ask a question, the answer might go to you, because you might come back and say, purple. What did you ask? I just heard purple, and I may have asked, what's your favorite color, or what color is that plant, or whatever, and you have the answer. It might come up on the audio of your video camera. We never know. So what I'll ask is, when we're going through to ask questions with the spirit box, you don't want to just keep asking question after question after question. You want to ask the same question about every 20 to 30 seconds for about 2 minutes. Give them time to muster up that energy to actually answer. That's when I start watching the batteries.
You have a thing.
That's okay.
Okay, it'll go
Yeah,
away.
because that was my old phone, so it's gonna have still my Google stuff attached.
Oh, I
to it.
gotcha.
Yeah, no big deal. But at any rate, so you'll see, like, I'm gonna go through like some of those things with you. The first place that we go to is kind of a little playground. It's haunted as hell, but it's kind of a way for you guys to get used to your gadgets. There's no real Charleston history there, so I'll kind of give you the layout of the land, and then we can go explore it. You guys can ask me a million questions about the gadgets, and then we move on to learn some more history. But this building, we start here for a reason. This place used to be called Big John's. It was named after John Kennedy, the football player from 1947. That's my big.
Exactly.
You smoke too?
Yeah.
And I gave you two gadgets. I'm sorry, dude.
Oh, you're good.
So, 1947, Giants. He used to sit in the back of the bar during the 70s. It was named after him. He pretty much owned the place. The cadets from the Citadel, which is that way, used to come down here and have a drink after training. And Big John would let the bartender know if they were of age or not. And one night he pissed off two guys and told the bartender, cut them off. They're not of age. So the two guys left. They come back the next night and they steal the cash register from the front of the bar. Big John pulls out his gun and he kills one. The bullet hole is still in the front of this building. And the previous owner, Kane Rumbar, he left it there because it's part of the bar. It is said that anybody that sits in the front of this bar gets a little sick. They get disoriented, dizzy, queasy, those kind of things. This is the only spot that I've ever had EMF inside the bar when it was still open, was right inside this window. And it's only happened twice. That's a good thing. So when I say why that's a good thing is because I don't want to keep recreating the exact same thing over and over and over again. The fact that it only occurred twice means that there was something there with me those two times. Another reason why I bring up that particular story is because if either one of you are not feeling well, please speak up for the other. I'm assuming you're a couple and not brother and sister.
Yeah, we're not brother and sister.
Sorry, I hate to assume things, but
No,
that's
it's
why I
all
put it
good.
out there. But I know how paranormal activity is going to affect me. I'm good. I do this every night. There's some nights I'm not so good, and I say we got to go now. There's two spots that I've had malevolence, meaning it was a little darker than I was comfortable with bringing outsiders from. I would have stayed if I didn't have outsiders with me, but if I say we got to go, we got to go. I normally don't bring in my personal emotions. That's why we use electronics. I don't have dowsing rods. I don't have Ouija boards. I don't have compasses. These are all electronic items. So you're going to collect that data. But if you guys feel any of those things, you have to stop. And we will get you out of the area. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I was born on the day of death, so I hope I can see some
You're born a day of what?
day of death.
What day is that?
Halloween.
Oh, really?
So I better get some. Oh, word.
It's my daughter's birthday.
Damn
Oh,
right.
man.
That's why I want my next tattoo is going to be a fucking wicked ass pumpkin.
So, believe it or not, my ex gave me that. She was apprenticing under my tattoo artist, which I'm covered, and that was her first and last tattoo. So I did puke through it because she took way too long, and I have epilepsy, and I watched her so I could try to help her out and those kind of things. bad mood. So about halfway through the pumpkin, she had to get me a pail to throw
Oh,
up in. Like it was
man.
bad. Like it was rough.
Oh,
But I sat
man.
through it. It took her about 4 hours, and that was 7 years ago. No, 8 years ago, and it still held color.
Wow.
So, but that's an S for Serena, and then my other daughter was almost 4th of July.
Wow.
Her name is London. So I'm all about planetary rulings
Oh,
and that kind of thing.
it's not the same as a daughter, but that's my cat's birthday, 7/6.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's serious.
What's your
My
name
cat
again?
Jixer, Shane.
Shane.
Yeah, my cat Jixer. No shit.
So her ruling planet is the moon. It's not normally a planet, but her particular birthday, because I want to say, I can't remember what mine is, but my ex's is Mars. And what's funny is I'm also a big believer in playing cards. Playing cards all have birthdays attached to them, and me and my ex had the same birth card, even though our birthdays are 3 months apart, which was the 10 of clubs.
Wow.
So, as you can imagine, everything on me is either zodiac or along with astronomy, something along those lines. But anyway, I already got a couple of names. So the interesting thing is when I do get names at this location, it's usually one of John's teammates. So I don't know of an Anthony, but it's something I can definitely look up. And I know that it's his teammates because I had a weird word come up one time and it just said Skip. And I happened to be on that page for John looking at another name and I seen Skip. And I was like, oh shit, his fucking teammates are coming through. So now, every time I get a name at this place or the next place, I know it's usually one of the teammates, even if it's drafted a year after. So it's I always give you the validation with that too. So when I validate that, I give you the link in your evidence page. So, all right, you guys ready to go ghost hunting? I'm sure
Yeah.
you're ready to get rid of that bottle. So we're actually gonna head down this way.
Alrighty.
That's weird. And you got my birthday, my cat's birthday.
I know, right?
That's your kids' birthdays too.
That's the word slavery. So, telling you I gotta tell that story out there. There's a garbage can right around the corner. Alright, so, a couple of things here. The big white house right over there, that's Crew Cafe. That is haunted. They've asked me to do a full investigation. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Thank you, COVID, for getting in the way. And the reason I'm having a hard time with some of the actual history there is because it used to be a slave home. Slave homes do not have addresses. So, I did get the word slavery. Just kind of a reminder, don't forget to tell the Crew Cafe story. And it has been expanded. Obviously, a slave home wouldn't have 2 stories. And
We walked through here and he pointed at that place as we walked by,
Dude,
remember?
we're going to be buds all night, I think. I'll be curious to see what else you guys point out based on what I do here. Also, down at that stop sign, little tidbit for you. Charleston is a peninsula, right? So it's basically an island of 6 hours connected to the mainland. The outskirts of the peninsula are man-made. So the water, which is that way, would have been much, much closer. So Revolutionary War, ship fires, and a cannonball landed that stop sign down there. Doesn't kill anybody, no deaths, no tragedies, no paranormal activity, just a weird little fun fact that we have a pinpointed location of where a cannon actually fell. So where we're actually standing and we're going to explore, this is the Big Red Barn. That's what they call it. But this is where they keep the horses for the carriage rides. I got this tickle on my arm. Just the weirdest thing. But anyway, so that's where they keep the horses, so we try not to disturb them. Your spirit box can get a little loud, so just kind of keep it at an audible level in this parking lot. But it's also the same red barn that held the horses that delivered milk to Charleston. So we're talking like 1860 to 1920. So sometimes I get like weird names in here, like Sebastian, Clyde, those kind of things. And a lot of times I think it's names of the horses that used to be in here. So I never know. This parking lot, I get all kinds of crazy activity. You're going to get used to your thermal imaging camera, and you guys are together.
Yeah, what am I looking for again? Blue moving?
Blue moving, or any kind of crazy temperature drops that shouldn't be there.
Right, if you just pointed at one spot and it's blue, and then all of a sudden that same spot's red. Type
It
of
just depends on if you move the camera or not, because remember it's going to fluctuate
Right.
based on what's inside the screen. So, and you guys, again, you're together, so you can, by all means, you can sanitize with the gadgets, but flip-flop if you want to. If you want to get further spirit box for a while and you test out the camera, I don't care. What's sunset? She's just better on the camera. Okay.
Yeah, he don't take pictures worth of nothing.
So, oh, by the way, that red square you see on there,
Uh-huh.
that means it's recording. So
Okay.
make sure you don't touch it.
Yeah, I
if you do,
won't
I gotta make 2 videos for you. Not a big deal.
No, we're good. We're at 19 minutes.
Well, don't pay attention to that timer.
Oh.
Because if you accidentally flip it or you put it down for a second and bring it back up again, it's gonna freeze, even though the video won't. So just pay no mind to it.
Okay.
I get all kinds of weird names through here too. So again, try to stay away from yes or no questions with your spirit box. You know, and I'll walk with you just to kind of give you a gist. Like, we want to ask questions we know the answers to. What color is the barn? What's
I'm good
inside
at
the
this. I like to say, like, is there anybody here?
That's a yes or no question.
Oh, darn.
You lose.
I lost already.
Fail.
Damn.
But we're going to kind of walk through and do like maybe 2 laps, and that way you can see how the temperatures fluctuate. And again, you have a lot of different types of environment in here. Wow, they took out that whole tree.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow. So this over here, where that palmetto tree is, there was like a bush that came out of it. Beyond that palmetto tree, that particular wall, we get weird things with I use a grid pen. And a grid pen actually shoots lasers out and helps us see things we can't normally see. And we get all kinds of weird things. So I'm going to actually have to test that, see what's going on there. That bush was there last night. I swear it was. But anyway, we're going to just do 2 laps. Go ahead and turn that up a little bit. Let me know when you see something go off on your EMF. And let's kind of see what we can see.
No, there's just these O's. Like, there's an O right there. See the O's? Right where my thingamajig is? Right north of my thingamajig?
Okay, so you're also, anytime it sees a light structure, this is a perfect example.
Okay.
So you see those triangles like off in the distance? Triangles of light? It's going to think that's an object.
Okay.
So if we were a little bit closer, it would probably put a white line around it and it would be a different color.
Oh, okay.
You're actually getting the street light, that O that was up there.
It's still there. Oh, I see it. It's that, and then the red light.
Exactly.
I see. Okay.
Great question. And I just got the word natural that popped up. So, you're getting all kinds of, like, see where your EMF's going a little nuts and not giving us any kind of pattern? We have something near us. So that's the time that we need to speak up and say, hey, the EMF is going crazy, and we kind of stop, and we kind of, you would be panning all the way around. Nice slow movements. So the camera, even though the technology of thermodynamics is super high, the camera itself will pixelate if you move too fast, like an old cell phone. So you're perfect. So at this point, we're going to ask, can you tell me your name? Doorway. We're right by the doorway.
I heard that.
Then turn it up a little bit more so we can all hear. Found. Obligation. I got the word daddy. Alright, so let's have something specific that we know the answer to. Somebody obviously doesn't want to tell us their name. What color is the barn? Can you tell us what color the barn is? We need to know what color the barn is. Try to separate your hands a little bit more just to kind of verify that it's not coming from there.
No, it's not.
Okay. You're perfectly fine. It's just a quick verification just to make sure, like if my cell phone was on it, obviously it's going to go up to red in pulses. But we want to make sure, like when I'm out in the field, like doing this all on my own, and I've got to handle 5 to 6 gadgets, I got to make sure nothing is influencing that to be able to verify that it's actually Wow, you're getting red now. All right, I need you to tell me what color. Tell me the word. Don't show me on the device. I need you to show me, like, tell me through this device right here, or give me the word. We're looking for a specific color.
What color is the barn? I think it's gone. Nope, it's back.
See,
Chills?
this fucking here, I'm not.
See it?
I'm not. I didn't do that.
Well, it's warm out here. You shouldn't be doing that. Of course, skeptics will probably tell you it's just from the adrenaline of you waiting for that answer.
That would happen to me, and I've yet to feel it.
All right, just go ahead and turn yours down and turn mine up, and let's maybe they want to communicate here. All right, tell me what color that barn is. It's a weird noise. Tell me what color the barn is. Another weird noise. Rewind by 3 seconds. What color is the barn? Last time we'll ask before we move on to another question. Signal's gone.
Yep, it's gone. It's gone.
Yep. Let's move until we find another hot spot. See if we can get us to red. That's going to be a stronger view. Can you tell me how many of us there are, including me? Give us a number. Give us a number. How many of us are there? How many of you are here? They usually get a smart ass here that gives me a number like 100 or billion or something crazy. Me and who else? That's 3 me's. Did you
I
hear
just
that?
heard me 3.
You heard me 3?
I heard 3. Me and 3.
I heard me 3 times. So we'll rewind by 5 seconds on the audio to try to listen. Are there 3 of you? Alright, let's go back to the barn. What color is the barn? Nice simple word. Okay, I'm gonna move these folks on to a new spot. Can you say goodbye or good night? Good night. I got it. Okay. So I usually repeat the word, whatever I hear. And a lot of times you'll hear me say rewind by 5 seconds, rewind by 3 seconds, 10 seconds, if we're contemplating like what we just did with the me 3s. So that way you can rewind it by 10 seconds and listen again and kind of verify. That's why you guys get the audio. So when you get it, obviously on your phone, and I don't know how you guys are going to download it, but it'll be on my website. But we're going to actually move on to the next spot. Do you have any more questions about this guy?
No, I've just been watching and I haven't seen nothing crazy.
Well, you're doing the perfect thing, like trying to keep it still. It makes for a really nice video to watch later, so great job there. We're going to actually go learn some history. Again, we could stay here all night and get activity, but I like
That's
to
crazy,
get
and the fact that we just walked through here earlier today.
Could have used this out of
So the cool thing is on the top of your evidence page, because you got to remember I do this by month. Your you're going to have a list of the apps that I'm using, the free versions, and then you're also going to have a link to every gadget that I use on the tours and how to get them.
I could use that when I go back in the Fisher building again. There's this 12-story building that...
You can get an EMF on your phone.
But how do you know which ones are real and which ones are actually lies?
You just test them. That's all there is to it. You just, like with this guy, if I put this behind my TV set where a lot of electronic wiring and all that is, it'll shoot all the way up. Let me get it back straight again. See where it says 47 now, it's kind of a dead spot. It'll probably shoot up to about 67 to 69. So that's pretty high. If it goes into the yellow, I think that's right around 180 where it starts to get dangerous for us.
Yeah, we got a red in there.
Well, we're also very close to a parking meter.
Oh.
Parking meters will set it off. So.
Oh, yep. Oh, look, it stopped at the parking meter, though.
The wiring is underneath the ground. So wherever the wiring is where it's going to go nuts.
Gotcha.
And I promise when I kind of just go to parking lots all night long, oh, we got more work to do. Awesome. So this is actually the Pinckney Mansion site. The Pinckney Mansion site is huge for Charleston. You guys got through here earlier too?
Yeah, we walked through that way.
So obviously it's a parking lot now, so we'll just be mindful of cars coming in and out. But let me give you the history here before we go exploring. Cool, the light's going off too. So the mansion would have been in the front. Eliza and Charles are who lived here. So Eliza, her garden would have been lined up with this blue dumpster, and then the slave homes would have been back here. So the cool thing about them two is they had a son named Charles and they had a nephew named Charles. So there's 3 Charles, the husband, the son, and the nephew. The son and the nephew signed the Constitution. They were raised here. That's super cool for Charleston. I hate politics, but it's still a big point for us.
Yeah.
Eliza, however, is the more important story here because we're talking colonial times, 1760s. So that's about the time frame that they lived here. She married Charles just so that she could stay here in the United States. She's from England. Her dad was sick and thought he was dying, and he wanted her home. She said, no, I don't want to go, so she got married, so she became a citizen here. Dad got better. They made amends. Dad started sending her gifts over from England. One of those gifts happened to be indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. They still use it today. That plant and cash crop for Charleston started right here. They had to move it eventually when the house had to be moved, and I'll let you guys figure out what happened there because that's where the spirit boxes come into play. You guys I'm going to give you some questions to ask, things that, that way I'm not going to tell you the answers, and that way you're not waiting for them. But indigo was the cash crop that saved Charleston because our rice plantations went downhill. So it was a big, big deal. Now, the other cool thing about Eliza is the fact that every time I say her name, it's going to go through red. Eliza. It's going to do it almost every time. So Eliza was the businesswoman that sold. I know, she loves me. We're actually really good friends. This is my grand finale. I mean, we're going to do more, but this is my most active spot because she loves to chat with me, call me out by name. She will answer pretty much anything I ask. It's pretty awesome. But she was the businesswoman that sold indigo overseas. So we're talking 1760s. A businesswoman was unheard of. A woman was kept in her place, barefoot in the kitchen, pregnant, right? Like, that's the kind of times we're talking about. She was not that way. She was the businesswoman for indigo. Eventually they had to move her little garden up to a plantation further inland, and they made it a huge cash crop for Charleston, not to mention half the country. So as we go through here, a couple questions you can ask, because I'm going to let you venture off on your own as I try to do my own little thing, and you'll have it on audio to verify later, and you guys can stick together if you want. She had 4 kids. Only one of them was a daughter. Try to find out what the name was. Find out what happened to the house. She was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. Find out what her maiden name was, because that's what she goes by. So it's Eliza blank Pinckney. You can find out how she died, how old she was, where she's buried, where did she die, all of those kind of things. These are questions that have specific answers. They're not yeses or nos. So I know I just threw a lot at you, but I'm going to be asking different types of questions on my end just to get her to try to respond to me and or come through on your spirit box. Again, be mindful of cars coming in and out. When you're with the thermal imaging camera, just people get a little weird with video cameras around their vehicles, even though that's not really videotaping anything that they understand. Mm-hmm. You're trained, they're not. So just kind of be mindful if somebody comes by, they get a little weird. And I step in, don't worry, I'm not going to let you guys fend for yourselves. But venture out, walk around. We're probably going to spend a good 10 minutes here. If you you guys start to get a headache or any of those things I talked about earlier, this would probably be the place. This is normally where I've had people faint, like literally because it's just too damn much. I mean, just be mindful of how you feel. I'm not gonna put, again, I talked to her. She's good with me. See the light blinking? Go and hold up your, like you're gonna take a selfie. Hold it flat out. Do you see how it's almost in sync with that light over there? That light is not always blinking. If that isn't a testament to the energy that's pouring out of here, that's influencing the back of that restaurant, I don't know what is. Now sometimes that light isn't blinking at all, sometimes it's just on. And this place has only let me down twice. So the year I've been doing this, I've only had 2 nights where I had absolutely no activity whatsoever. No EMF, no spirit boxes, nothing on the thermals.
She's probably sleeping or something.
Who knows? But again, that proved to me that every other night that I'm here was legit, which is a year's worth. So again, venture around, ask questions.
Yeah, look at it, it's freaking out. It was on all of them.
Now, I've even tested this because this parking lot is one of those places where you have to pay through an app. And I've been to other of their particular lots, which is actually right next to where we started by Big John's.
Yeah, we almost parked there.
Yeah, don't park. Where'd you guys park?
We parked in front, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Good. So yeah, I'm actually right there.
Oh, okay.
That's
Cool
my little silver car. But I even tested it in the same type of lot. I was like, you know what? Let me actually, after a year of doing this, let me just make sure I'm legit. Because if you know I'm getting stuff here, oh, photograph. That's interesting. So I might actually have to stop and take a few pictures. And I try not to in this lot because again, cameras and cars, weird people get mad. They've yelled at us before. But anyway, there was nothing there. I did that last night and the night before just to make sure there was nothing popping. So go ahead, venture around, find your hotspot. I mean, you're in one now. If you want to stay put here while you just kind of pan and help them remember all those questions, I'm actually going to make a lap and try to get Eliza to talk to me specifically. And hopefully you guys hear some of my answers. Questions, comments, concerns. This is a really cool place, guys. So ask as many questions as you want, but again, every 30 seconds, the same one. Give her time to answer. And you can turn that up pretty loud so you can hear it if you need to. Because actually with that too, even though you're recording it, it would be kind of cool if you guys catch it. It's not recording you guys. It's only recording this. So on there, you can almost like, hey, I just heard this, and it'll pick up both of you. Does that make sense?
What was your daughter's name?
Elijah, what was your daughter's name? Hey Elijah, what is your daughter's name?
Eliza, how many kids did you have? Eliza, can you tell me how many children you have?
I'm not as good as this as he is. Elijah, what was your middle name?
So I've been getting a lot of activity up in that corner lately, and I literally, after Eliza, what happened to your house? And I get not yet house, and then immediately I got blew up. I said, okay, blew up from what? It took her a few minutes, but she did tell me why, and it was from a fire. So again, that was another one of those like chill moments, you know, hair standing up on end kind of thing. But when she said not yet house and then blew up like right away, it's clear as day. So when you guys listen to your audio,
that corner keeps going from 88, if I stay in the middle, 88 to 96.
well, we're pretty far away from it, so let's go look into
okay.
it further.
I've just been
Are you
keeping it
hearing
still.
anything on your spirit box?
No. We're not as good as it is you were.
Well, I do this every night, so it's a trained ear. So he's got a hot spot right there.
Eliza, can you tell me how many children you have?
I mean, that's crazy. Eliza, how many children did you have? I turned this up so you can hear.
So that's one.
That was weird. Almost sounded like the beginning of Hell's Bells.
That's what I thought. Eliza, can you tell me your daughter's name?
Eliza, tell us your daughter's name. I know it's a lot, it's 3 syllables. So in the morning too, before I text you with everything that's collected, I do go through a good bit of this. And what I do with that one is I give you some markers to listen to, and that way you can go straight to it so you can hear what I hear. I won't give you the whole thing, because I mean, this is literally like 8 hours worth of data for me to go through it. I spend about 2 hours on it. And I kind of like hit our hotspot. So I'm obviously going to be looking more here at your video because of what I just went through over there. And then obviously I'll be listening through the spirit box during this time too. Eliza, how many of us are here?
Elijah, how many of us are here?
There was something there. Eliza, I'm going to move these folks on. Can you say goodbye or goodnight? Message. I need you to say goodbye or goodnight.
Elijah, we're gonna go now. Can you say goodbye?
I'm not getting any kind of response out of that, even though it's a hot mess right there. So
It's gone now. It keeps coming back, but it comes and it goes.
We're actually going to go about 4 blocks up East Bay Street. That thing's going to go nuts because of all the parking meters in the crosswalk, so don't pay any mind to it. I do ask that you have your masks pretty handy, especially if it's busy up there. And people get rude. I mean, we could look like 3 friends just walking through downtown or something. But I do, my competitors know me, so they won't turn me in because they don't really care for me very much. But we're going to go up to an alley and kind of check things out up there. You can keep listening to that if you want. You can chit chat with me if you want. You guys can walk behind me, but you guys don't mind my smoke, obviously.
Nope.
What kind of vapes are you guys using?
These are fumes. They're 1,500, 1,600 hit. They're disposables.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I used the...
I'm too lazy, man. I have that.
Well, I did have a big one. And with me on the go so much all the time and having to carry gadgets, like my wife finally talked me down into this one, like hers.
I suck at replacing them, and then on top of it, I suck at filling them.
I got one that's identical.
I got so much of that at home, it's unreal. No worries.
So my mother-in-law, I started her little business because she made us some masks, so I made her a website. And I was like, you just need to send me pictures of all your patterns, and you're gonna make me a bunch of ghost masks for my tours. So I got Casper and Jack Skellington and all kinds of
That's awesome.
Cool.
She's making good money too.
Yeah. I can only imagine with this pandemic.
Well, she's only charging $5 a mask.
Oh yeah, that's not
So, I
bad.
mean, she's getting school teachers ordering like 20 and 30 at a time.
Oh yeah, because the kids,
Right.
they're all gonna need them for school. I know that's one thing I haven't done yet is get all my kids all new masks for school.
How many kids you got?
3.
How old?
We got my youngest will be 3 in December, right before Christmas, and then my middle, he just turned 5. He'll be 6 next year, and then my oldest will be 9 at the end of the year.
Okay.
Christmas baby again too. Well, 2 of them are in school now, but we got to do virtual for at least first. Well, I'm from Detroit, so Michigan, we have to do virtual.
Yeah, Ohio's doing the same thing. That's where I'm from originally.
Yeah, we're just the first 3 weeks supposedly, but we will find out.
Apparently down here, because my youngest, London,
So
she's...
there's one crazy right here. Is that cool?
it's the crosswalk. So it's got all the...
Electrical.
Yeah, so it's going to go nuts. Yeah, you can pretty much ignore that thing on the street. Even like these grids underneath, like that's all wiring.
I installed those when I was 18 years old. All underground.
Yeah, London's got to do virtual through the first semester.
Yeah, it sucks. I go on vacation and I go home, I work a week, and then I go on unemployment for 3 weeks as I have to stay home with the kids and teach them school.
What do you do?
I own technically my own property management service.
Okay.
So pretty much everything from gut outs, clean outs to landscaping. I build brick beds and yeah, I've been doing that for 3 years now. Next year it'll be 4. No, next year it'll be like 3.5 technically.
So what do you do?
Technically tile.
Okay.
So I'm from South Dakota. I'm moving to the trailer now. Like, this year. Minus that I go back and get my little trailer.
I met him on vacation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, end of February. We technically got together March 2nd on a cruise.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And he's moving with me. 6 months later.
My wife now, we got married 2 days after my divorce.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Huh.
Thank you, South Carolina law.
Oh? There's no waiting period?
Well, South Carolina law is very strict when it comes to exes and kids and all kinds of stuff. And my wife being a neighbor, South Carolina law says that she can't be around my kids for at least a year after my divorce.
What?
We got married 2 years after my divorce. And therefore she's now family.
Wow.
She didn't meet my daughter for over a year. She had to keep going away every weekend.
Wow.
Because my ex was just being ridiculous.
And then like your ex could call the cops and be like, oh well, I know she was there, blah blah blah.
She did call the cops.
What?
Several times. 'Cause,
Well, I know we're never to move.
yeah. I think my ex moved this year because of that.
Wow.
Because of the law stuff.
Excuse me.
Hey,
How y'all doing?
good,
Hi.
man, how are you?
Y'all help, I'm hungry.
No, sorry, buddy. I actually just saw him eat a big old meal just earlier.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
He was devouring. Yeah, but we walked by that second time down that street, and he had food. He had a whole bunch of food.
There's a lady that comes by too on a walker.
Oh man, we seen her too. She looked like she was blind. She just doesn't look at
She
you.
doesn't look like she needs a meal either.
No.
We're gonna make her right down.
All right, just go down this
Yep.
creepiness.
So the cool thing about this alley, and it's only being the three of us, is I can kind of give you the gist of what this is, instead of waiting until we get all the way down. This is actually one of the oldest streets in Charleston. So again, remember, the water was much closer. So this used to be where people lived. If we get names that pop up through our spirit boxes, or somebody says something to you through the camera, I have the full list of residents that have actually used to live here. Those people used to be grocers, mariners, seamen, seamstresses, I mean, all kinds of different kinds of occupations, but this was low class down here. So they did archaeological digs in between these bricks. They found some of their silverware, they found some of their tools, little articles of their clothing, and they were able to determine whether or not, like what class they fell in, whether they were high class, medium class, or low class. So I get one particular name that pops up all the time down here. So I'm going to see if he actually pops up again. And that list of residents goes all the way back to 1790. The other cool thing about this is
We were just in the blue, now we're back in the red again.
they may have had maybe some of those air conditioning vents coming out. Like if you turn around, you might actually get some blue spots along the walls on the ground where they meet because of the AC coming out. This is a super cool alley. I have brought shadow people up at the top of this alley before with the thermal camera and a regular camera to verify. So once we get closer, hopefully this is where I found like that yellow person just kind of standing there against an orange wall. And it wasn't one of us, like part of my group. That's the Lodge Alley Inn.
What's with this? All of a sudden there's something in front of me that's like super hot. And it's like half the screen, check it out.
That's your finger.
Where's this camera at? Oh, okay. I'm a dummy, my bad.
You're good. Well, I'm here.
Oh snap.
But they have their own ghosts. Every hotel down here has claims of hauntings and ghosts, but none of them can actually verify anything that is being related to Charleston. There's a couple that have set histories, but not very many. Got mesh shoes and open toe.
Mine are water shoes.
Yeah,
They just look like sneakers. They're pretty gravy. Best investment ever.
You have to imagine with this job, I gotta have closed leather all the time.
Oh man, I
It's so
bet.
hard to find closed leather too. So when I find something, I think I have 2 pairs of these and I have 2 pairs of another at home. Just because I deal with water down here all the time. So it rained yesterday, so my shoes were soaked by the time I was done. So those are
These
out.
are literally tennis shoes, and you buy them on Amazon for $20, and they're water shoes. You just never would think it.
I mean, Myrtle Beach, I used to run a Walmart up there when I lived up there. And water shoes up there are an everyday commodity. Like, like it's necessary. What did you get there?
Yeah, you got some. It said some almost clearly.
We're just cutting through here. I did telling the story out here because this is a new shortcut that I use. So this is actually Philadelphia Alley. That church you see, that I'm sure you guys passed up earlier, is the oldest or the tallest steeple we have here in Charleston. But this alley has its own story. So let's go ahead and cut that off for a few minutes. I'll tell you what happens here, and then we'll kind of cut through it. There's a lot of tours that come through here, and I always get interrupted. So that's why I've been telling the story out here. So this used to be called Dueller's Alley. So duels as in take 20 paces, turn and shoot kind of duels. The story is very simple. A doctor moved down here from New Jersey. His name was Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. Of course, there's a ghost tour that's trying to... So,
What said his name?
it's crazy. Let's see what it said before that. Ready.
They're asking me if you're ready.
I'm always ready. So, the doctor moved down here. He was supposed to get married to a woman named Amanda. Her parents just died, and she just got a great big inheritance from them. So her lawyer thought that he was just after her money. So he said, go start your practice somewhere else, and then we'll talk. So he moves down here to Charleston. The coachman that brings him into town set him up to be robbed and killed where he was going to stay. So somebody walking by said, you don't want to stay here, let me take you somewhere else. So he takes him to 59 Church Street. You guys probably passed that too. It's an actual neighborhood. There is activity there. I get it every time I walk by with the EMF. But anyway, that's about 1.5 miles up the block a ways. So anyway, that guy's name was Ralph Isaac. The two guys become friends. However, the doctor, he's moving up in hierarchy because his practice is doing well in here. He's got patients. He's making a lot of money. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. If you Google the Whistling Doctor, you'll get that big, long story of what those guys are telling. They're telling a very long 15-minute story. So anyway, even though the two were friends, they used to go see plays together, but had to see different parts of the theater. The doctor obviously got better seats. They would talk about the play on the way. One night he's talking about Richard III, one of the actresses in there when he was in town. The doctor loved her, Ralph did not. Turned into an argument and an insult party on the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home. The two get pissed off at each other, they go their separate ways. Well, Ralph, remember, is from Charleston. He has ties with the newspaper. So he writes in the newspaper what a disgrace the doctor is to the city of Charleston. He's taking all their money, he's not from here. That was a big deal back then, it's in the 1800s. So the doctor rebuttals with, we're going to settle this in Dueller's Alley. So they come down here, they take their 20 paces, the doctor points his gun in the air and he shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend. So Ralph takes 2 shots below the knees. The doctor drops. Now, normally the loser of a duel is what? Dead, right? The doctor didn't die. The loser would normally go through a gate that's just to the right here. Like we're going to go through the center and make a right and kind of I'll show you some other places and we'll come back and walk through. But there's a gate right there where the loser would literally go to the St. Philip Cemetery. And then everybody would go celebrate the winner with a pint. That's how times were. But that didn't happen. I got the word shepherd. That's relevant too. I'll tell you in a second. So what happened, because the doctor dropped, his friends pick him up, they take him over to 59 Church Street, he dies 10 days later. Now it said as you walk through the alley, you can hear whistles from the Whistling Doctor and or gunshots. Now on 2 accounts, I've actually caught whistles that I couldn't explain, or jokesters making fun of, because everybody knows the story of the Whistling Doctor, so everybody kind of walks by, they make little whistling noises. So you can kind of tell what's a joke and what's not. I've only had 2 times where it actually popped up. They're going a little elaborate tonight. The word shepherd is relevant because before it was Dueller's Alley, this was called Cow Alley because this is where they kept their livestock. So I'm sure there were shepherds on either end tending to the sheep, cows, or whatever else was in there. So that is somewhat relevant. We're going to actually walk, we're going to wait for them to pass. Are they passing? This is definitely a masked up area. So I ask that you guys have your masks on as we cut through there and go to a little bit more popular area. But there's like 5 extra places along the lines, and you guys with such a small tour walk pretty quickly like I do. So we're going to be able to get through a lot more extra locations.
We walked fast.
Keep in mind my competitors don't like me because I'm stealing all their business. So whenever they walk
You
by,
can give
it's
him
just
a
a matter of,
congratulatory fuck off. I'm just kidding.
yeah, just let them pass. Some of them might make little comments or whatever, but
It's alright. Let them make fun of you.
again, their customers probably paid close to $40 for their tour, and they're just hearing stories. Half of them I can hear are drunk. So let's go get away from them guys. I had a drunken tour once. It did not go well.
Oh, yeah?
I cut it off.
Oh, man.
I stopped it right after the Pink Immersion site. They were goofing off with the gadgets and everything else, so we're going to make a right and go down the steps.
Look it up.
I just tickle myself.
As you can imagine, like, this is a very popular spot. Most of the ghost tours make this their grand finale. Like, this is normally their big last kaboom before they try to scare everybody. There's the video I was telling you about, where once the loser was done, they didn't move any bodies. This was actually just an open courtyard. The cemetery's off to the left. We're going to go up there and take a look at that and see if we can capture anything. But they're probably going to be in front of the gate. But there's like 4 buildings along the way that they don't talk about. So we're going to go check those out. Oh, by the way, smoking will get you out of wearing a mask.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah, so...
I just wear one when
of the
they
laws
tell me
here.
I have to, unless there's a bunch of people and we're all whatever you call that, stuck together.
So, what I learned is when you're down here, if you have a drink in your hand, if you're smoking, or if you're eating something while you're walking through downtown, no problem stopping.
We haven't stopped and I wear my mask like
walk
this
right next to us.
all
We
day.
even park right next to us. We walk right next to us.
Even at USS Yorktown, they told us straight up if there's nobody there, don't have to wear them. There was only like 10 of us in the whole freaking building, but in the whole Yorktown thing, but...
Alright, so we're gonna keep that low. The guy that lives here in one of these apartments in yellow bricks, he gets a little angry. He thinks we're videotaping his house because the building in front of his apartments, that's actually haunted. That was named the Bocce's restaurant. Bocce's actually left town because it was too damn haunted for him. Actually sold it back to the city. Right now it's being used as a warehouse by the restaurant next to it. They're kind of using that storage. But things will move around in there. We've caught some shadow figures in the windows with pictures. The doors don't stay locked, that kind of thing. People get a little weird. But these are apartments, and this is empty. So if I were to ever open up a storage at the cemetery shop, that's somebody's house.
Does somebody's house in there?
Yeah, like you go through there and there's like 6 apartments. Like that's their courtyard.
That just seems like you'd find something in there.
This would be a place for me to put a shop. So downstairs would be a retail shop of ghost hunting equipment and paranormal books. And I would rent out each room upstairs with a kit, like a ghost hunting kit, teach them how to use it, and then obviously collect the data from the next morning, charge them $500, have a nice day. Like, very, very simple. Alright, so we'll stop here about there, up there. So the powder magazine is right along the line of where the walls start. That is where we kept our gunpowder. On record is our oldest building. On record. I will argue that the Pink House is a year older. It was 1712. That was finished in 1713. There's no record of the Pink House. That's why that is the oldest building in Charleston. Now, it's not very big. It's a museum now. If you're into old wartime type uniforms and stuff, that's your place to eat. Tons of shit to read. Very cool inside. Very cheap to get in. It's only like $5. I think I can see some cats for $1. And I'm in there all the time. So, interesting construction on this building. It's a groin vaulted ceiling, which means it has 8 giant 36-inch pillars around the edge of it. One giant one in the center, and they all meet in the center. The top of it is actually filled with sand from 1712. So in case it were attacked, the blast would stay contained. Does that make sense? So with all of that over there, it's also pretty far in. We're about 3.5, 4 blocks in the coast. It did that on purpose so that it wouldn't get attacked and it wouldn't be found. It's not on coastal water. It's further inland. They served 11 different wars, not fully, but they would literally hide gunpowder in there and then take it out, take it somewhere else. So 11 different wars that this guy served. Yeah, now it's a museum, super cool place to see. Again, it's not a long trip. Like you might spend an hour or 2 in there, but for $5, you get a lot of history in a short amount of time. Not to mention they have old war uniforms in there from all the different wars that it served in. So it's just really cool if you're into that kind of thing. I think I've read just about every book that's in there. The funny thing is, they actually used to do what we're doing right now in the front lawn, because apparently there is a female ghost pirate that hangs out in the front lawn. I'm not into pirates, nor do I have any evidence that that place is haunted. I always take my EMF, I run spirit boxes, I get absolutely nothing. I'm saying it's not haunted, but I will say that I don't have anything at the times that I've been in there, and I've probably been in there at least a dozen times. Normally after 2 or 3 places that I visit, the second or third time, I usually have something to go on. I have nothing to go on in that place. I don't think any deaths occurred there. What's funny is they actually have one of those like gallows where you hang the guy by his head and hands right on the front lawn. None of that actually happened there. It's just there for show. But it was guarded heavily because it's gunpowder, but I don't think anybody actually died there. And they say that this female pirate used to hang out there. So while he's still there exaggerating the story, I'll tell you what actually goes on and then go up and check it out with the camera. So there's a sign in front that says there's no ghost at St. Philip's besides the Holy Ghost. There's a reason for that. 1888, Sue Howard Hardy died 10 days, one of those two, depending on what story you're reading, after her stillborn child. So she has a baby, it's stillborn. She dies 10 days later after heartbreak. 1987, 99 years later, a photographer is in town taking pictures of all of our beautiful cemeteries, and he captures a full apparition. A woman wearing a shawl and a baby basket next to her. Like crazy shit. It's 1987. There's no cell phones, there's no Photoshop. He sends it into Kodak. Kodak can't debunk the picture. So, last night, I've been calling her Susan for months now. She corrected me and said Sue last night. So when you guys look at your evidence, just scroll down one more day and you'll see Sue where she corrected me. And I gave a link to show that. Now I don't show the picture, the apparition, because it is cursed. I'm a superstitious guy, as I'm sure you can tell. It said any female that holds it will not feel well. Any pregnant female will not have a very good pregnancy. So I don't show it. If you want to look it up and not hold it on your phone, by all means, look at it on a computer screen. Show it to her if you want to. I've held it and don't feel anything. But again,
Yeah, I can't have no babies anymore. I'm good, so I can feel sick all the way.
Just saying. Even still, just females in general.
I know.
Just because of what happened to her. There's other stories that happened there. So St. Philip's has 2 different sides of the cemetery. So citizens are buried on this side, non-citizens on the other. John Calhoun, vice president, can't remember which number, I want to say 12, could probably be wrong, but his sarcophagus is actually above ground if you're into presidential candidates. He was a vice president. You can go visit him. 1 block down from there, you could probably see the gas lamp burning in the distance. That's the pirate house. So the pirate house is where Blackbeard's men would come off their ships. Blackbeard stayed on the ships to guard them. And they would come in and have some women, some pints, and then they'd go catch a play down at Dock Street Theater, which is 1 block away. There was a tunnel underground from the pirate house all the way over to Dock Street Theater. So it's a pretty long tunnel. It's filled in now. Back in the 1990s, we finally filled it in. But the Dock Street Theater actually has its own story connected to St. Philip's. So quick history on Dock Street Theater. It was a theater called Dock Street, because this used to be Dock Street. It's now Church Street. Can you imagine why? Big giant church right here.
Right.
Then they turned it into Planters Hotel, which had prostitution. And then we turned it into the Dock Street Theater that we know now. It just kept the same name. So this was during the time that it was Planters Hotel. A woman named Nettie Dickerson worked here at the church. She was past the marrying age of 17 because she was 23. Nobody wanted her. She was too old. So she sees all the prostitutes down at the hotel. She puts on a best red dress and goes down there to get a job. She's the best loved girl in the whole place. However, she's still unhappy. She's up to the 7th-story balcony to contemplate coming back. The priest sees her out there one night. He goes down there to talk to her. And as they're out there on the balcony, the storm rolls in. Lightning strikes the wrought iron banister that she's leaning on and strikes her dead. Now, her ghost is seen from the knees up only. The reason being, where he knew. It's interesting. He knew what? Did you guys know the story already? No? So, when we turn it from Planters Hotel back to Dock Street Theater, we raised the 1st floor ceiling. She's walking on the floor that she knows. That's why you can only see her from the knees up. We didn't know that when the apparition was caught. Somebody actually had to figure out why is she so short, why can't I see the bottom hem of her dress, those kind of things. So it was literally a research session. He's just not going to believe that spot. I wanted you guys to at least see one cemetery on the tour. It's just there it is. But he's going to hang out there with his drunks, and we're actually, I think, where are we at on time? Yeah, we're going to walk through Philadelphia Alley. Those are all the stories from over around this corner anyway.
And then they'll be gone. Then we'll be able to go over.
Well, when we walk through Philadelphia Alley, there's one more building that I show off. And we may actually capture something with the spirit boxes there. I mean, you can listen to the spirit box when you're going through Philadelphia Alley, because this is recording to listen for whistles. And I'll be able to tell, because I listen to that thing every day, what's different from there. So when we go through, by all means, you can turn it up. If there's tours, I didn't shut it back down again, just as we're passing by. Because I will say, excuse me, and I will cut right through. I don't give a damn. So
I don't
do it to
blame
me
you.
all the time. So, if the word
And
confirmed,
in the end, they're the ones that get paid hourly, and this is your job.
that's what it is.
Exactly. Cause you got yellow, but I don't know if it's from me. Being, oh, from
All
her.
kinds of things on the street.
We would have been one of those if we didn't find yours.
You're bored out of your mind. Bored out of your mind. I've been on them. They're fun. But that's because I'm in their history too, obviously.
Right.
You know, my daughter gets into them. She's actually on the weekends. Like, she'll be here tomorrow. She'll be on my tours tomorrow night. But she helps with the gadgets. Believe it or not, half the shit you guys are holding was her birthday gift one year.
Oh wow.
I just took it back to her. I had to get her. I quit a 6-figure job to do this.
Really? That's crazy. Well, you do what you love. That's what you're supposed to be doing in life.
I write during the daytime. I drive Uber Eats if I have to. Tours are light. But most of the time, I'm working on the podcast. I'm writing the blog for it. I'm doing data, going through this stuff in the next morning. That's all I do. It's coast, coast, coast. There is a tour up there, so once we get close, go ahead and cut that off. So when you guys are listening to this, like let's say you're listening to this in the car, this is where you'll turn it up. So that way, as high as it'll go, so that way you can actually hear the whistles. Because it'll be very, very faint. Masks up as we're going through there too. Excuse us.
Yeah, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I hope you are.
Yeah. Catching ghosts, man. Catching ghosts.
There you go. Real. I'm doing well. Thank you for that.
He's probably gonna stop right here. It did it again. God damn. Okay, so quick story on the light. I got the email on this morning. So for a year, that light did nothing whenever I walked past it. 2 weeks before I went on vacation, it started doing it every time I walked by. And then it didn't do it for like 4 nights when I got back. Last night it started up again.
Huh.
So
You making friends?
I guess so. A couple of things at the end of this alley. These bricks actually get older. These ones down here are actually sun-dried bricks from slave children. And you can still see their fingerprints, and we have a full handprint up here. However,
Yeah, there was one right here. Here's a handprint, it looks like. They still look like when I walked by. They're right here.
could be something.
I don't know,
I used to
maybe.
plant
Fingerprints, isn't it?
fingerprints here. Yep, fingerprints. More fingerprints. But this is somebody's home, so I'm trying to be quick here. There's the full handprint. So I did get a couple of words that actually relate to the next story, and I'll just it's funny because it happened there last night too. I had words coming out that went to the next story coming out of that alley. So was this what you guys thought you were getting yourselves into?
Yeah, that's alright.
Fuck, I didn't know. I didn't know we were going to the building and it was going to be
No.
sitting there and
Well, other tours actually have claims to cemeteries, like they have a contract with the cemetery, so that way the heck wants to go to a cemetery? And granted, Magnolia is haunted, but who wants to hang out where they're buried? The ghosts are out and about in the places that they love.
Right.
So we're gonna take a look at this brick building that's catty corner from us. You guys should know that term. That's an American term. I say it down here. Everybody looks at me like I have 3 heads. Catty corner. So you guys know what that means, right?
Kitty corner.
Catty corner.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It means diagonal. So anyway, this building here is actually part of our cotton industry. The last person who owned it and is part of the cotton industry, his name was George Pereira. He inherited the business from his dad. He had no idea what he was doing. He was a silver spoon kid. So he got himself into a bunch of debt. He was already depressed because his dad was gone, and we had the boll weevil in town, which is a bug that eats cotton. So he's really up the creek about what to do with this business. So he decides, instead of selling it over to the American government, he sells it to the British government. So again, water's over there, much closer than what it is now. They unload all the cotton by horse and buggy from these back doors, and they take it out front, and George is watching from the front of the building. It gets loaded up. Once it's done, somebody gets too close to it with a cutlass. The whole ship catches fire, and everybody dies. George watches the whole thing. He's already depressed. Now his dad's legacy. So what's he do? He piles up all the furniture. He puts a captain's chair on the top, swings a noose, and he hangs himself. So it is said you can actually see the shadow of a human corpse on the second-story building in the front. Now this building is condos in the back, and they're turning it into a wedding reception area in the front. And when I said I actually have words that I got on chair when we were coming out of the alley, and the word draft. Draft makes sense because they say there was a broken window and a crow got to him before the newspaper kid the next morning. So his eyes were kind of eaten out and his face pecked at, and it was not really nice to look at. Now, the other interesting thing, we're going to test it with the camera. Against the very front. See how it comes to a peak?
Mhm.
In the front, sometimes, because there's actually like a stone, it's weird, it's not brick, it's made out of like a cement stone, and at the very top, and then there's one about 5 feet below it. And there's sometimes anywhere between 20 to 30 degree difference of those two. So your thermal camera, we're going to test that. I mean, I have an infrared temperature gun in my bag we can test it with. That's what we normally use. But the funny thing is normally I've been getting over the past few months, like Zoe comes through from Coogan's porch. Did you guys pass Coogan's porch when you were out walking today?
The streets it on.
This one.
This one?
This is Queen Street.
Yeah, yeah, we've been on Queen. I got a couple selfies on Queen because I took
Okay.
pictures of the things.
So Coogan's porch is actually named after a dog, Coogan. The woman who lived in that restaurant, it was her house, her name was Zoe St. Amand. She comes up all the time. She died by falling down the stairs. I know it's her because her name is spelled Z-O-E, and that's how it comes up. Z-O-E. I also get the words like French. I'll ask her what type of business is in her home now. She'll tell me table, food, those kind of things. So it's definitely her. But with those very specific references to George's story, I think we're going to hear from him. So we're going to cross illegally twice, walk up alongside of the building. Personally right now, we probably could. We want to use.
Myrtle's real bad with that. You jaywalk, they'll get you.
Yep.
I told you. I've been to Myrtle before.
I lived there for 20 years. That's where I lived with my ex. And then I moved down here when I got away from her. Didn't get the word aside as soon as I said we're going to walk alongside of it. So, George, tell me what happened to your ship. George, what happened to the British ship with your cotton? What type of ship came in? Where was it from? British, yes. Was it grumbled British? Rewind by 5 seconds. What happened to it? Got a very grumbled British. that came through, so it's a marker on there for you, so you can rewind it and listen. Again, he would have been on the second story. The water was much closer. These buildings weren't here, so he was able to see the port where it pulled into the wharf and actually watch the ship go down.
I don't know if I heard this one. There's something weird.
But you have the words "kid leader." I use an ambient temperature too, so that way, because this guy only measures where the red dot lands. Kind of like how we take our temperature now. So this one actually measures the regular air with a probe. So that way, if I have, let's say you say there's a blue dot on that pillar, I can test to see if it's the same temperature all the way down. If it is, I now know that it's between you and the pillar. So that's what I use this one for. But this guy, we just want a one direct temperature. So you guys see the two different stones up there? I'm going to put my red dot on that one. I got 58.2, and that one says 78.8, 78 flat. So 52 and 78, so I'm looking at 62, so I'm looking at a 26-degree difference. Last time was only 7. So I was expecting a high difference because I had so much activity on my way up. Now, what does that tell me? It just tells me that there's something going on inside the building. That's explaining the data that I got on the way here. So you're going to realize too, like because we had EMF earlier, like say the Pinckney Mansion site, I don't get excited until I have something else to match it. Something else to verify what's actually happening. So, sorry, I normally explain that at the beginning, but this way, like I had that activity coming up, I was hoping that there was going to be a big degree difference, which there was. 26 is quite a bit, but especially for 5 feet, there's no reason why those two should be that different. So, I'll take your EMF because this is, you're going to have more on Main Street here, so we're going to give you spirit box another minute or two and get you, if you can get a nice slow sweep along those windows. Now, the weird thing about thermal imaging is it cannot see through glass. However, if there's a temperature change, it'll pick up on that.
The closer to the top of that white I get goes to 40.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I get just slightly down from then and it's back in the 80s.
That's crazy.
Somewhere in between that top gap and that circle gap. In between there.
Again, I got enough evidence coming out of the alley and up here.
80, and then
Oh,
down to
okay, like
30, and then it shoots to 30, and then back to 80, and then it
Don't
shoots.
get that blue because it's going
I'm
to
not,
measure the sky.
I'm not.
I've also seen where I want to clean the vape through that, and it'll make a white outline around it because it thinks it's an object. So if it's thick enough, like if I blow it, no, like in the front of it. See, watch, go ahead and.
All it did was blur it.
Just blurred everything up. Sometimes, I mean, it's pretty windy. If it's hovering, it'll actually put a white outline around it, kind of proving what it'll actually do. Get the wilderness. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it because I'm not getting anything else coming through. I haven't heard anything come through you, even though you kept it down pretty low. We'll have the regular recording for it tomorrow. Are you guys going anywhere else tonight?
No, can we go through the cemetery real quick?
Which cemetery?
The one that we stopped because they were in there.
They don't go in it.
Oh, they don't go in it?
No, it's locked.
Oh, I got you.
I just kind of like showing off some of the older gravestones and showing off that there's no ghost here.
I got
They
you.
lock them up at like 8 o'clock, unfortunately. Most cemeteries down here. If you guys actually are, how long are you guys staying in town?
Till Saturday.
So if you actually are looking to take another tour, something similar to this, I recommend the Magnolia Cemetery tour. They don't give you gadgets, but it is haunted as shit. And now you guys know which phone apps to take. Like, you'll have that list tomorrow morning. Just use the phone apps, like the ones that I used. It's still fun, and that way you can actually enjoy the tour. You recorded all night. Great.